Okay, welcome everyone to our Awesoming Library virtual potluck. I'm excited to be here, especially because we're making cookies. This is Ashley Covelli. I think you almost all have met. And so, Ashley, take it away. And we're going to tell you later, don't let us forget about some other programs that you might be interested in that have to do with cooking and cookbooks and everything. Okay,
Yeah.
here's Ashley.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for joining us. I'm just gonna pin my overhead. Yep, there we go. So if you're baking along with me today, this is a recipe I came up with as a spin on these other chocolate cookies that I make. So it's peppermint hot chocolate cookies. If you're baking along, you can preheat your oven to 350. I'm gonna use my microwave first. It's also a convection oven, so I'm gonna melt my butter first and then I'll preheat my oven. And let me back up a moment. If you haven't been to this program before, Virtual Potluck, we've been doing it every month this year, except a little summer hiatus. And we have a theme every month and we do 2 programs during the month on Tuesdays around the theme. So this month, the theme was desserts. So that was a really, really awesome cookbook discussion a couple weeks ago. And then we do a cooking class based on the theme. So next month's theme is holiday cooking, and our cookbook discussion is going to be on Tuesday, November 9th at 7 p.m. And then a cooking class on November 16th at 6 p.m. for my father-in-law's Italian stuffed mushrooms that he always made that are like, they're so good. And no mayo deviled eggs. So like 2 holiday staples in my family and my husband's family. And we've got a lot of great cookbooks, a lot of great recipes, and we're always open to feedback. And I hope you enjoy. And don't be shy. If you have questions, feel free to ask. So I'm gonna melt. Ooh, that was very loud. I'm gonna melt a stick of unsalted butter in my microwave, and 8 tablespoons is the same as half a cup. And what I like to do when I'm melting butter is I do it at 50% power. So if most microwaves have a power level setting. So mine is 1 through 10. So I'll do power level 5. And I'll just do it in kind of 15 or 30-second bursts and stir it around so that the butter doesn't explode all over the place and so that it melts evenly. I do the same thing with chocolate if I'm melting it in there. I did candy melts for a kids class last weekend. We did a Halloween themed class, and I did the candy melts in the microwave in small batches like that, because sometimes things don't look like they're melting, but if you pause it, stir it around, you'll see that they actually are. Yeah, so it's like it's a little extra work to stop it and stir it, but I think it's worth it. You're also more than welcome to melt it in a small saucepan on your stove top. This is almost melted because I've had my butter sitting out for a couple hours. And then after this is melted, I'm going to preheat the oven to 350. And for mine, this is a microwave convection oven combo. So I pull out the little turntable. It's super handy. Like when Thanksgiving comes, I have this as an oven. This is like a half size oven and a full size oven. So I can like bake all of the things, which is pretty great. Now I gotta put the racks in. Okay, so 350. All right, so actually, my directions listed in a different order. I'm gonna do the butter step first since it's already hot. We're gonna add to the butter some Dutch processed cocoa powder, and there's a really great article. I can share it with Diana after, and she can email it out to everybody, about the difference between Dutch process and natural process baking powder. And the main difference is, I believe I'm saying this correctly. Let me double baking powder. I'm sorry. Thank you. My husband caught saying the wrong words. That's cocoa powder. So regular cocoa powder, like kind of Hershey's that you would buy, or Ghirardelli or whatever, if it doesn't say Dutch process, it can be acidic. So that tends to be used in recipes. Like you can't substitute Dutch process for that because there's already acid in it. And there's I do have the link, here you go. Sally's Baking Addiction, which if you're not familiar with her website, she's got tons of great tips for all things baking. So that article kind of spells everything out, but she says, always stick with the type of cocoa called for in that recipe. Using the wrong cocoa can result in a flat cake, bitter soapy flavor, sunken cupcakes, etc. If you're in a bind, you can use natural cocoa powder for Dutch process, but do not use Dutch process for natural. The recipe likely needs that acid. So I thought that was really interesting to note. So I'm using Dutch process for this. And I'm going to whisk 3/4 of a cup in while the butter's still warm. I'm going to whisk that in with this. I was actually at Stop and Shop twice today because I only needed I needed some white chocolate chips, and I got home and I was setting up for class, and then I realized, oh, I don't have any mint extract. I thought I still had some and I didn't. So luckily it's close. So 3/4 of a cup. And these are like super rich, kind of like almost like brownie cookies. They're very, very good. And I do have a version of these on my site that don't have like the marshmallows and the peppermint and all that. So I'm just kind of whisking this together and throwing some baking powder or some cocoa powder on my board. And these I have for science. I tested putting the crushed peppermint cookie or candies on the cookies before baking and after baking. I wanted to see if it made a difference. My recommendation is after baking while they're still warm to sprinkle them on, because they kind of melt into pools of really hard candy if you bake them within it. It's perfectly edible. You can sprinkle it then. And the other thing, I tested freezing them, and you can absolutely freeze them unbaked after you make balls out of them. And then you can bake them right from frozen and just add like 2 or 3 minutes to the baking time. And they're like, it's great because you could like make a whole batch and say you only wanted a dozen, portion out all the other ones, freeze them. I like to freeze them on a flat tray first. And then once they're frozen, I'll take them off and put them in a bag. I like to use like any bag that you can suck a lot of air out of, but like a stasher bag, is a silicone reusable bag is nice. You can put them in a Tupperware. But I think bags generally are a little better because you can get a lot of air out of them. All right, so we got this lovely chocolate mixture that smells amazing, but is not sweet at all, so it probably is not delicious. And
So
then
actually, just quick, the Dutch cocoa powder, you can get that at any supermarket.
yeah, I got this one at Stop and Shop. This
Okay.
one's Rodell. I used to get it from Penzies all the time just because I liked their variety. But yeah, you can get it anywhere. It'll just say, some of them might say Dutched, but usually it says Dutch process. So like this one says dark finish, rich flavor. It's like a very chocolatey chocolate. I keep the like natural type in my kitchen also usually, because if like that article is saying, if a recipe doesn't specify, it probably means the like regular stuff, not the Dutch process. All right, so we're gonna whisk into that 2 cups of granulated sugar. I know you're ready. My oven's letting me know it's ready and gonna beep a lot at me. All right. These are really fun for kids to help make too if you have kids at home. My son was very excited to work on these with me when I was testing them. Oh, I also tested like doing the marshmallows, baking them in, mixing them in with the dough. I think I landed on sticking them on top of the dough after the dough was in balls. I can only see the bowl. Is there something I need to see all the cameras? Yeah.
If you go to the upper right and you see view, if you put it on speaker, you should be able to see both Ashley and the bowl.
Yeah, that one should show you whatever I have spotlit spotlit, which is my in front of me camera and then the one that's overhead. These are really, really nice for like holiday parties. They would be, you could even, if you wanted to like add a little spice, kind of do like a Mexican hot chocolate thing and throw a little bit of chili powder in there or cayenne, just like a little bit, just or chipotle, just to make it kind of different. I think that would be good. All right, so 2 cups of sugar. And then I'm gonna add half a teaspoon of vanilla extract and mint extract, which is something else that I realized today. I thought that mint extract and peppermint extract were like basically the same thing, but I saw both at the store today. And so mint extract, if it doesn't just say peppermint extract, has spearmint and peppermint. Peppermint extract is just peppermint. So I think either is fine here. I wrote peppermint, I'm using mint, so I'm like living on the edge here, but I think it'll be fine. So half a teaspoon of that and then half a teaspoon of vanilla. Wow, this has like a dropper, like it's food coloring, like a little. The extracts go a long way. And I know the price of vanilla extract has gotten crazy lately, so I actually got this one from the wholesale club because I figure holiday baking and stuff, it'll get used. I do, if you can, you don't have to, but if you can swing getting pure vanilla extract, I think the flavor is much better. But if the cost is prohibitive, don't worry about it. Nobody's gonna like arrest you for using artificial vanilla. And they probably won't even notice. All right, so we've got sugar, vanilla, peppermint extract, and then buttermilk. So we're gonna do 2/3 of a cup of buttermilk and shake it before you measure it because it tends to separate. I don't love that the carton ones, they only have light, they work fine, but I like, there's these big bottles that are like whole milk buttermilk, and they're really good. They're like really, really rich. And I find that these ones, the expiration date, like I bought this today, it expires on Sunday. So we'll be making pancakes. And my grandpa actually he's from the South and he used to drink buttermilk like by the glass, which is weird. I'm just gonna pop this back in my fridge. But yeah, that was an interesting one. Pour that right in here. And this is a great way, like if you have a little buttermilk left over from making pancakes and you want to find a way to use it, like make some cookies with it. Were you, Jean Marie, were you able to get both of the cameras in your view? I hope.
No, I'm not sure. I can't, there is nothing that says speaker view or other view. I mean, I did this when I was teaching. I don't know what my problem is. That's fine, as long as I can see down.
Oh, yeah. Do you have any sort of icon somewhere that says view? Are you on a computer or a?
I'm on a computer. It just says full screen or not, and then it's chat. I can add the chat, and that's it. It's just full screen or no full screen.
Does anybody over there have any tips?
No, where it says view is speaker, and gallery, and full screen. So if you put it on speaker, that's when you can see both screens.
Yeah, is there a view menu at the top? You might need to go out of full screen just for a moment to get those options. That might, and sometimes full screen kind of just like takes over everything. And
yes, that's true.
All right.
But I wanted to ask you about the buttermilk, if I can ask
please.
a question.
Yeah.
So isn't there a way, like if you don't buy buttermilk, you can make
you can add, and I don't have the exact ratio, but if you look on Joy the Baker's website, joythebaker.com, she has the exact amount. You add like, I want to say for a cup of regular milk, you add like a teaspoon of white vinegar, like distilled vinegar. It's something like that. It's not, it works in a pinch. It works for pancakes and stuff. It might not be quite as good, but I mean, there's like a lot of chocolate. It'll still be good. I think it'll still be, even if you use the fake buttermilk. But yeah, we use that as a substitution pretty often. And then if we have extra buttermilk, we just either make cookies or ranch dressing. My husband buys the like mixes of the dip that you mix it with like buttermilk and mayo, I think. And there's like one, do I have the dip? It's like, it's better than the mix that's labeled as ranch dressing mix. They have like a different one. That's why they taste different. They changed something about the formula, but I grew up in the Midwest. We had a
But
lot.
do they have buttermilk like on a regular basis in the supermarket? Like it's no big deal to
Yeah,
find it?
it's usually right by the milk and the dairy section, and it'll either be next to the regular milk or next to like the heavy cream and half, and that type of stuff.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I got that at Stop and Shop. I think ShopRite carries the one that's from a fairly local farm here in New York, Ronnie Brook Farm. Theirs is really, really good. Maybe that I would drink like my grandpa did. I don't know. All right, so sugar, vanilla, peppermint extract, and buttermilk are in with our chocolate. And you can see it's just like this kind of thick paste. And then in a second bowl, I'm going to whisk together flour, baking soda, and salt. So when I measure flour for baking, we're doing 2 cups of flour. Instead of, if you take out a kitchen scale, you'll see the actual difference here. But if you go in and you scoop flour like this and squish it down, you're compressing it. So you'll get a different volume of flour than if you take a scoop or a spoon and kind of pour it in. So some people kind of like fluff it in here first, pour it in, and then flatten it out on top. So I tend to, when I'm baking, do the scoop, pour it in, and then flatten. It just makes it a little lighter. If you run into a recipe where it's like a little dense and you've been scooping and compressing, that might be why. All right, I'm not going to lose count. So I have a half cup, so I need 4 because we're doing 2 cups. So 1. I have this flour container has a little bar that you can like scoop to flatten it off, but you can't ever get that like last edge. So it's good in theory, but I don't love it. It's not practical. I like it for other reasons, but not for that. So that was 2. And I like, one of the things I like about baking with my son, he'll be 10 in less than a month, which is crazy, but he gets to practice like some math skills, and I'm not great at math, but I'm okay at kitchen math. So it's nice. I'll be like, oh, so how many, if we need 2 cups, but we have a half a cup, how many half cups is that? Or like, if I wanted to do, to kind of quiz him a little bit, and it's fun. It keeps his brain going, gives him something to focus on, other than licking the bowl, which is usually what his focus is. All right, so we've got flour. We're gonna do baking soda, not powder. How much do I need? Half a teaspoon. Now on this one, this is the same brand, the same set. This has it, and it makes sense because it does it nice and flat. Oops. Baking soda, and then a half a teaspoon of fine grain salt. So what I mean is not kosher salt, not like the really grainy stuff. If you use the kosher salt, you would need a little more, and I'm not sure exactly how much would make sense, but these ones with the spout, I always my home ec teacher in middle school taught me, always pour it over the sink, because if you pour it over your bowl and you overflow, it's like a salty mess. So I just pour it over here and shake it to even it. And it is not a typo. This recipe does not have eggs. I have had a couple people on my website ask, like, for the other version of these cookies, where's the eggs? There's no way this is going to work. And then they write back later, they're like, okay, that was pretty good. Is that it? Flour, baking soda, and salt. Okay, I'm gonna get another whisk since my other one is all clumpy now. Another like just general baking tip that's very handy, especially with the holiday baking things coming up. Baking powder, not baking soda, but baking powder often contains aluminum, and not for however you feel about the aluminum, but the fact that it can make it taste weird, especially if you're using large amounts. So like I have a ricotta cookie recipe that's one of my favorites, and it's one of the ones that has gotten a ton of traffic on my website over the years. it uses like something like 2 tablespoons because it's a whole big batch. And I made them for a really fancy cookie exchange once. And I tasted them after I had already iced half of them. And I was like, this doesn't taste right. And I realized I had the wrong kind of baking powder. So there are a few brands that say aluminum free. So if you're buying baking powder, look for aluminum free if you can. It's not always noticeable, but it can be. Bob's Red Mill is one, and Rumford is another one. But just look aluminum free. It can taste like just like metallic, like tangy, like sour, and you don't necessarily want that in your baked goods. All right, so we've got dry and wet, and we're going to gradually add the flour. How do I do that? I'm gonna get another bowl. I switched things up doing the melting in my microwave and then changing my oven, so I'm gonna get another bowl. I like to incorporate it in about 3 batches. So I'm gonna usually try to minimize the amount of dishes I have to do, but the room that's above my kitchen is the room that's the office upstairs in our house. And sometimes I'm baking, my husband will be like, it got really hot up here. I was like, oh yeah, the oven, because the oven's so close to the ceiling that just kind of heats the room up. All right, so I'm gonna put this chocolatey mixture in here. And then I'm gonna set this bowl aside. I am not endorsing that any, oh no, there's no raw eggs in here. Never mind. I was gonna say I'm not the FDA. I don't endorse eating raw eggs, but my son will love that I leave this out for him, so. All right, then I'm gonna just about 1/3 at a time and just mix this in. It doesn't have to be exact. It's just a little easier to manage it if you do it a little bit at a time, and go slow at first. If you start like really whipping the spatula around there, it's going to be a big flour storm. These would be good with other things stirred into them also. But yeah, just like I find that if you find a cookie recipe that you really like, you can try making slight adjustments to it just to see, like swapping out some. I swapped out half of the extract for mint. If there's some you like, I know chocolate and orange is a flavor combination that works well. Like maybe you want to try that. I haven't, but it might be good. Or a little like orange zest inside of, like mixed into here, might be good. Especially if you find something you like, making little changes to it to kind of make it your own and make it like more exciting is always fun. All right, so that's my last scoop of flour. And I'm going to be donating 90% of these cookies to the Ossining Public Library tomorrow, because we've got plenty of desserts and we'll be going trick-or-treating on Sunday. So little librarian love over there.
We are very excited about that too, just saying.
But if tomorrow Diana ends up eating them all, then you did not hear that I was giving them to the library. I don't know what you're talking about. All right. So then I like to do 2 cups total of chocolate chips. Personally, I think if you mix types of chocolate chips, it makes it more interesting, but you don't have to. You can do whatever you like. You could leave them out, but it would be kind of sad. I like the way that it looks when you add white and brown chocolate chips. So I'm gonna do, I'm not usually hugely into white chocolate, but I like the Ghirardelli white ones. They're pretty good, especially when they're surrounded with chocolate. Maybe that's why I like them so much in this format. So I'm gonna do half, so 1 cup of the white chocolate chips. And then I'm gonna do the other half, a mix of semi-sweet and dark. And I haven't been able to find them recently, but if you can find, Ghirardelli makes these baking chips. They're bittersweet and they're like discs. They're bigger than a normal chocolate chip. They're very good. But these ones are bigger. These ones might work similarly. I also found something interesting. A lot of people that take pictures of these amazing looking chocolate chip cookies, you're like, how did the chocolate chips look so perfect? it's because after they do the balls of chocolate chip cookie dough, they push the chocolate chips in on top. And I was like, that's really smart. And we kind of do that with the marshmallows on these cookies. But so if you ever think that your chocolate chips are getting buried in a cookie recipe, just like pop a couple extras on top, because it'll look nice, and there won't be any question that they're chocolate chip. So I'm just gonna stir this all up.
So you did white chocolate chips, semi-sweet, and milk,
And dark.
and
Yeah,
dark.
Yeah, you can do.
Okay.
I'm a dark chocolate by default if I'm gonna go chocolate, unless it's Halloween candy, and then just like give me all the Reese's and Snickers and Kit Kats and whatever. But yeah, any mix you like is good. And then, so I've lined 2 baking sheets with silicone mat. You can use parchment paper. When I baked them from frozen, so I made some balls of dough and I froze them last month. I baked them from frozen and I didn't line the sheet, but it was on a nonstick cookie sheet and it worked fine. So play at your own risk. I've only so far freshly baked them on a lined baking sheet. And you can do either heaping, what did I say, heaping teaspoons? Let me see. Heaping tablespoons, 12 on your sheet, or if you have a little cookie scoop, if you look, there's a little piece that flips back and forth that helps release them. There's a number on there. So this is a number 50. I find this is like my go-to for cookie portion sizes. And one of the good things about doing it with the cookie scoop is you dip it in here, you do what I said not to do with the flour, and you push it and you scrape it on the side of the bowl. And then all of your cookies are the same size. So they cook at the same rate. And then, yeah, because, if you have a bunch of differently sized ones, they might not all cook the same. Does anybody have a favorite cookie recipe that they want to share to talk about? I'm always curious what people's favorites are. Or
We like oatmeal butterscotch. It's those butterscotch
chips.
chips, and it's on the bag of the Nestle butterscotch.
Oh.
They're different, and they're usually I don't know, well received by people who don't even really like oatmeal cookies, but the butterscotch is a nice change from chocolate.
And do they have also raisins in them or no raisins?
We don't usually put raisins. No, I don't think it calls for it in the recipe. I mean, I guess it could.
Well, I think a lot of people who claim to dislike oatmeal cookies like very strongly, it's because they picked one up and thought it was a chocolate chip cookie and bit into a raisin. Don't blame that raisin. It did nothing wrong.
Right.
I'm just going to say, I hate raisins and I hate when that happens. So yes,
You've been burned.
I have. So those sound great though, Joanna. Yeah.
Yeah, that
I'll
sounds,
try
I think
those, yeah.
the chips sound like a really interesting addition.
Mhm.
I'll do both sheets at once. So these ones, when they're baking, it can be a little tricky to tell when they're done because you want to look for the edges to start to set and be brown. It can be hard because they're dark cookies, obviously. But they need to sit on the sheet for a couple minutes after they come out of the oven, because if you try to move them, they'll just like melt into a pile of mush. I tend to like underbaked brownies, corner pieces especially, and then a little underbaked. But so if you're in question about it, you can let them hang out an extra minute or two and bake them. Jean Marie, were you going to talk about your favorite cookie?
I've got a favorite cookie that I make only at Christmas. And so it's just, I got the recipe from someone. We call them chocolate rolls. So you make the dough and you break it into 4 bowls. So balls, you only work with 1 at a time. And then in a double boiler, I do a can of the sweet condensed milk and a whole bag of chocolate chips.
Yeah.
And I put that, after I roll out the dough, I put that on, and then I sprinkle it with walnuts and I roll it up. And the chocolate like melts through because of the dough, thing. And it doesn't matter. You just pick it up and you put it on the pan, and you, like a meatloaf, you just smack it together, and then cook it. And then once it cools, I cut it, and it is so good. It's such a good recipe.
That sounds awesome.
Next time I'm up
Yeah.
north. I'll take a picture of it and I will get it to you. I'll send it to you.
I would love to see that. So now I'm just mashing some mini marshmallows into these. Some people like fill cookie with marshmallows. They do start to melt, but they don't bake so long that they turn into complete liquid. So I feel like putting them on top is fine. Like I said, if you wanted to throw a couple extra chocolate chips on top, you could. And we'll crush up the peppermints after while they're in the oven and sprinkle them on like right when they come out. The other versions of these cookies that I make, it's really great to do a little bit of like coarse salt up on top, like sea salt if you have it, because then you get the sweet and salty thing going on. And I saw a tip for making salted type cookies. If you put a little salt down on the mat and then you put the cookie dough on top of it, then it gets underneath. And then when you eat it, the salt hits your tongue. I think that was a Joy the Baker tip. She's obviously a baker. She's very got a lot of really great recipes, and she's got 3 cookbooks, I think. I know I mentioned maybe 2 of hers in this month's cookbook discussion, but her cookbooks are great. Just gonna set this aside while I get these guys going. Yeah, the marshmallows get like just a little bit brown and toasty on top. There are like s'mores cookies that you can do with this, and you push like a little piece of mini Hershey bar on top. And yeah, I think 3 marshmallows is the perfect number. Maybe I'll put a couple less on some of them in case some of the librarians are like, just want a little bit of marshmallow. There is a recipe that my aunt used to make for, just speaking of something really, really chocolatey. It's kind of like a mix between brownies and a cake, but it uses chocolate pudding mix. I want to say it's like chocolate pudding mix and a cake mix. And then mint chocolate chips sprinkled on top, and they melt into this really nice layer. They're really good. So these are going to bake for about between 10 and 14 minutes. It's a little, like I said, a little finicky to try to figure out what works best for your oven, but I'm going to check mine at 10. Alexa, set a timer for 10 minutes. All right, and then I think candy canes work better for this just because they have more stripes. These little peppermint starlights or whatever they're called, they have like just a little bit of stripy action. The whole thing tastes like peppermint, but it's not quite as pretty, but this is what I have. So I'm going to take out my frustrations with a meat mallet and just whack them right in the packages. If they aren't in the little individual things, or if you're using a candy cane, you can open it up and put it in a bag, like a Ziploc bag, and then meat mallet, not the pointy side, because that'll break through the bag, or a rolling pin would work. So this is going to be really loud and annoying. Okay, I was going to say I can mute if I need to. And you just want some like varied pieces, and then I'll actually put them in a bowl so it's easier to sprinkle, because I want to sprinkle them like right when they come out of the oven so that the cookies are still like warm and gooey, so they'll adhere, and then letting the cookies sit for a couple minutes before moving them onto cooling racks. And if you haven't used a cooling rack before, they're so handy. It looks like this. So the size of sheet pan, like this, a standard sheet pan that you would use in a home kitchen is a half sheet pan. So this is a half sheet pan wire rack, and it's oven proof, so you can cook things on it. And it's nice because the air will circulate all around it. So this can go right in the oven. It's great for like if you're decorating something and you're like drizzling, so you can put like paper towel down underneath or something and drizzle, and it'll catch everything. And it's just like raised up a little bit. It's got like a little ledge. I've seen stackable ones which look really cool. They kind of accordion fold, or you can like stick them on top of each other, which is pretty nice. And I've found for a full batch of these cookies, which is around 4 dozen, if you're using the little scoop, it should be about 4 dozen, like 6 peppermints, 5 or 6 peppermints. If you're using full candy canes, maybe like 2. And I like not too big of chunks, but like you can see how there's not a ton of red in here, so it'll still look pepperminty, but I think candy canes are a better bet. But not the Starburst candy canes, because those will be like fruit flavored. I mean, it might work, but it's not the vibe we're going for. Ooh. All right, so I'm gonna start with that and see how it goes. Just the 4. And then I think Diana had another food program outside of virtual potluck that might be of interest to some of you.
Sure. Let me tell you this. So we have, excuse me, we have a Reader's Choice book club, and we meet once a month on a Monday night in person at 7 o'clock. And the choice, the theme, it's a different theme, and you just talk books, any book about the theme. And if you read it, you didn't read it, there is like zero pressure. It's just like talk books. So for November 15th, Monday at 7, the theme is foodie fun. So I thought that was perfect for us because that's what we do here. So everybody is welcome. I would love to email you a reminder if that's okay. And just write down November 15th, 7 o'clock at the library. Any books at all that, it could be a cookbook, it could be a novel that has a food, part to whatever you want about food. Okay, so I hope I can see you there.
Yeah, I was mentioning to Diana earlier that I didn't realize before we started doing this program. I mean, I always liked cookbooks, but I always kind of use them as just I need a recipe for a chicken appetizer. Let me go to that section. And once I started doing this program and I wanted to get a little more in depth on the cookbooks, I started realizing, I was like, oh, there's actually some really interesting narratives and stories, and you really get to know, and a lot of the books, you really get to know the author and like how they got to where they are. So outside of just reading the head notes, that's the little top intro for each recipe, you can sometimes learn some really cool stuff. And some of the books that you would otherwise not realize have serious personality. Like some of the ones, actually this month, I think I was really cracking up. There was that Procrastinating, I think. That one was really funny. There was a couple chef books that I read early on, and just it's a really cool way to explore different cuisines and just learn more about people. Like if there's a chef on TV or from a restaurant that you like, they might have a cookbook, and you can get like a little behind the scenes. And sometimes you can find out like, oh, that's interesting, Tyler Florence made this recipe on his show and he used these ingredients, but then in his book it says these ingredients, and probably neither are the way he would make it at a restaurant, because like they don't want you to know everything. But it's just kind of funny. Does anybody have any questions? We're just waiting for these to bake. I do have another baking sheet. That's a nonstick. I should test. It's all about science here. I'm gonna test. This is a quarter sheet pan. I'll test doing it online. Let's live dangerously. Let's see what. These are the things I do. I've been writing about food on my website since 2006. And back then you would just like take a picture with your flip phone and just write like, I made chili, it was great. Here's a picture, here's the recipe, that was it. And then for a while it was, let me tell you about the day that I learned about chicken, and this whole thing. But now the way many food bloggers, food writers are doing it is they're filling the post with tips for success, because they want you to be able to make the recipe successfully. So I've been going in lately into a lot of my old posts, ones that have been popular for years, and I'm like revamping them, I'm reshooting them, I'm getting pictures of the process, answering questions, things like that baking powder tip, just so that if you do go to make it and you have any questions like, hey, can I freeze this recipe? Or, there's a lot of questions that people ask, and it's helpful to ask them. So if I'm not just plugging my website, but anybody's website, if you make a recipe from them, like tell them like, I made your recipe, I was confused about how to do this, or this worked really well. I think it's useful feedback, and it only will help their future recipes be better. And I laugh sometimes because some of the ones that are the most popular on my website have these terrible photos, and I'm like, why would anyone even want to try that based on that photo? But sometimes the ingredients speak well, I guess. So this one is not nonstick. I guess it's a stick pan. This is a nonstick one, so we'll see how these two work without being lined. So what did I say? Next month's theme is holiday cooking. And then for December, the theme is entertaining, because I figure a lot of people are doing like not just holiday parties, but like, you know, getting together with friends before the end of the year. You got like vacation time from work to use up, or just trying to do more like tips on like fun appetizers and stuff. We did an appetizers themed virtual potluck a couple months ago, and there was some really fun cookbooks in that section also.
Yeah, and anybody who didn't catch those and wants to see the past videos or get the recipes or whatever, it's all, if you go to austiniglibrary.org and then go to digital library and our lib guides and look for virtual potluck at the bottom of the list. It's all on there, the recipes and the videos too. I think I might be a little behind with the videos, but we're getting there.
It's
the cookbook discussion ones and the cooking ones.
Yeah, there's a lot. And it's if you haven't been to one of the cookbook discussions and you'd like to come sometime, please feel free to bring your own favorite cookbooks or go explore some cookbooks to bring to chat about. That's one of the things that I really appreciate about the library, is that I can go and check out, pun not intended, check out books that I might want to buy, but I'm not sure if they would be a good fit or if they warrant taking up space in my house. You know, limited space, you want to make sure something is like the right fit for you, and it's a great way to do that.
And libraries have great cookbook collections. I mean, we have I've just like in the past couple months, I can't even tell you how many new ones I've ordered. There's always great cookbooks coming out, so definitely check them out.
You can always suggest too. You can say, like, if you're there, you can say, hey, there's this new cookbook that's coming out, I'm interested in it, are you going to have it? And a lot of times either they will have already ordered it or they can order it.
Yeah, just send me an email or just tell me, whatever. Yeah, I'm totally open to that. Totally. Yep.
Cassie Joy Garcia has a new cookbook. I found her previous one because of this program. It was called Cook Once, Eat All Week. And it's like a different take on meal prep. So she has like 50 something weeks, maybe it's a full year's worth, by ingredient. So it'll be like 3 ingredients is the star of the week. And then she gives you 3 totally different recipes, and you do one, Alexa, stop. You do one like prep day. Oh my gosh, guys, I didn't start my, oh no, I didn't start my oven. Okay, well, let me turn this one on too then. 350. All that talking and I didn't turn the timer, so it was sitting in there in a warm oven. So that'll be really interesting to see how that goes. The suspense may just get to us, but all right, well, it's a good thing I have a spare oven. So that book, it'll be like, you know, this week the ingredients are chicken, kale, and sweet potatoes, and it'll be like one day, and she breaks everything down. She gives you a shopping list, and it's really doable. She has a new cookbook out. I can't remember what it's called, but it came out this year, I think.
It's called the Cook Once Dinner Fix, quick and exciting ways to transform tonight's dinner into tomorrow's feast. And we do own it, but it's checked out. Gee, maybe to Ashley.
No, I haven't seen that one yet, but okay. I'm interested. Yeah. I'm all on the holiday cooking cookbooks right now from your library, but
so we have both of hers and they're both in the system. So definitely. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The other, man, I can't believe I did that. This is actually a first for me. And you guys you got to witness it here with me. Alexa, set a timer for 8 minutes. We'll see if that works. No, she's trying to get me to listen to music while I'm doing it. So yeah, that cookbook was great. And the other thing, even if Ossining doesn't have it or whatever your closest local library is, you can online, you can put something on hold and have it sent to your local library, which is super handy. I used to, when I worked in White Plains, I would have things sent like, so I could pick them up on my lunch break a little easier sometimes. Although that library is like, it's like in the system, but like kind of not. It's a little,
that was a while ago. They're fully within now.
Okay.
Yeah.
they've
Yeah,
been,
but it was for a while kind of separate. It was weird. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, there's so many great books out there, and if you haven't been to the section in Ossining, it's upstairs on the is that technically the second floor?
We call it the second floor. Yes.
Is the elevator button the 2?
The 2. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
because there's
The
like
elevator
there's like
button is 2. Yes.
there's the lower level.
641. Yeah.
But yeah, if you go up to that second level, and it's such a beautiful view too. I'm a total fangirl of the library, so
We
and I
love
need
that.
to go still to Greenberg. I haven't been to recently.
Also a great cookbook collection there too. Yeah.
Good to
very
know. Chappaqua has a really good cookbook collection. Rye is small, but they have a lot. I was able to find several for next month when I went there last week. And yeah, I think their children's room is closed because they had a lot of damage from the hurricane. But yeah, so speaking of Rye, actually, I have on Thursday, that's next week, November 4th at 6:30, I'm doing, I do this happy hour program with them. So we do 2 appetizer recipes. It's usually 2 recipes. And I'm doing 2 make ahead holiday appetizers. So one is a gorgonzola fruit torta that's like, it's like cream cheese and gorgonzola, and it's layered with dried fruit and some herbs and green onions, and then like toasted nuts at the end. And I have one in my freezer from when I shot the recipe photos, and I want to see how it holds up in the freezer because I've heard it freezes well, but I can't recommend you do it until I test it myself. So that's a really fun one, and then you just have it with like crackers, and it's pretty because it's got like the jewel tones from the dried apricots and cranberries. And then we're making I got the recipe from my cousin, and she calls it avocado dip. It's kind of like a taco dip, so it's got like the refried beans and like kind of a guacamole taco spice situation, and then cheese and olives and whatever toppings you like, but tomatoes. It's like really good party food, which is always a handy for holiday gatherings. So that's my next one of those. I have, since I'm sorry, killing a little time because of my
That's okay.
oven mishap, but
And-
it just shows you like things go wrong with everybody, and it's fine.
Yeah,
It's all about
It's fine. Yeah.
all about how you recover from it. This page has all of the events I do. I have 2 more with the Ossining Library that are ready to be registered for. There are 4 more virtual potlucks this year though.
Yeah, so people know the dates too. Again, it's November 9th and 16th and December 14th and 28th.
Yeah, we tried to make it like around holidays. It was a little tricky, but we got it in there. Is anybody hosting or like not hosting this year? I know things are a little odd still with the pandemic, but just curious. We're finally gonna have my mother-in-law is fully vaccinated finally, so she's gonna come over this year. Last year we like cooked and we dropped things off, and then we Zoomed, so we ate from our table while she ate at hers, and it was different, but it was still nice. And my mom joined us from Indiana, which was kind of cool, via Zoom.
Yeah, we're going low key again. We are, even though everybody's vaccinated, it's just low key.
Yeah, I mean, this year's been a lot. I feel like it's totally okay to have a pass. Or order, honestly, like support a local restaurant who's cooking Thanksgiving, But does anybody else have any, or do you have any like recipes that you're really excited to try out for the holidays?
So last year, because we didn't get together with family, we ended up, my kids don't love turkey, so we ended up doing, I got a nice cookbook about fish from the library, from the Greenberg Library, who also has a lot of nice cookbooks. But we ended up doing butterscotch raviolis with butter and sage as a starter. We overcooked them a little bit, and then we did it was a white fish, and we wrapped it with like prosciutto and capers. So we went totally not Thanksgiving food.
I love it.
Yeah, my kids, because it was just the 4 of us and not, extended family, they were up for, getting in the kitchen. My 2 boys actually like to cook more than my daughter. So they were in, following the recipes, and it was fun. We had a good time.
That's great.
Experimenting and trying something different. So we'll see about this year, what we haven't really decided yet, but
I love,
they're
I
like,
love
"We're okay without the turkeys. They like some of the sides and everything, but I don't know, it's just the fuss of it, and they wanted to
Yeah.
try something
Well,
different.
and
And
like-
it seemed like the year to do it. So anyhow,
And also like making your own traditions, like a non-traditional tradition is great, you know? Alexa,
I
set a
cook
turkey timer for 10 minutes.
I cook my turkey overnight in a very low oven temp. So I put it in at like 11, 12 o'clock. And then you can take it out in the morning, make all the other things, and then just take the the Reynolds wrap off, and then cook it for like a half hour, 45 minutes, and baste it to brown it up.
Nice.
So it's a very slow cook, all night long turkey, but it always comes out moist. But I'm the only person that I know that cooks it that way.
Well, I feel like I've heard of that before, but also like, are you dreaming of like like the smells got to like permeate the house and just make you have like amazing dreams, probably.
Smells fantastic.
Yeah.
There was one year I forgot to put butter in the stuffing, and I'd already stuffed the turkey. I literally had to go and unstuff the turkey, put the butter in, and then restuff the turkey. That was my big calamity once.
I mean, you've recovered. It's fine. I feel like my stepmom once when I was a kid, I didn't like stuffing when I was a kid. I do now, but I remember I was sitting in the kitchen and she pulls it out of the oven and like it fell on the ground and she just looked at me. I looked at her and we like made a silent agreement to not say anything. Put it back in the pan. So the whole time we're eating Thanksgiving dinner, I'm sitting there eating my nut and I'm like laughing at my brother because he's eating floor stuffing. But now it's like I like jokingly, as a tribute to her, because she was sick years ago. And so my tribute to her now is I'll sprinkle a little stuffing on the floor every year. It's like a little tribute. Did you want to share something, Ola? Oh, you're muted or maybe you're talking to somebody in your house. I don't want to assume. All right, Alexa, stop. All right, let's see how these ones turned out. We're looking for around the edges. We want them to be set around the edges. So they'll be like a little crinkly and stuff, but don't know what we've gotten ourselves into with this timing. These ones, not yet. We'll see. I'm like, oh, I'm making cookies for the librarians. Might not start the oven. We'll see. The ones down in that oven will be good. And I still have enough to make a little bit more. Yeah, my father-in-law always used to make the turkey, so I never had to. And then the last couple of years, my husband's been doing it and he spatchcocks the turkey. So that's where you cut the backbone out and then you flip it over and you push it so that it's flat and it cooks a lot faster because part of the reason the turkey takes so long is because it's this massive ball. It's really thick, but if you flatten it out, we do it with chicken sometimes too. It cooks much, much faster. So we did I did it. I don't usually do it. He usually does it, but I did it so that I could get photos to write up the instructions for my website because it's a little tricky. You have to like use poultry shears and those, if you haven't seen them, they look kind of crazy, but they're these like massive scissors and then you put it in and it cuts right through the bone. So they're stronger than regular kitchen scissors, but it's great. And we came up with a dry brine recipe. So we had it in the fridge for, I want to say like 4 days beforehand. We cut it, did all the like heavy lifting 4 days ahead of time. And then the day we wanted to eat it, we just like put it in the oven. And then I made gravy out of the parts that we like the bones that we cut out and the neck and all that stuff. So yeah, I mean, honestly, I feel like the biggest part of stress for Thanksgiving for a lot of people is that it just takes so long to cook the turkey and they're worried about it being done. The other thing that's helpful with that is my fancy protective case for my dual probe thermometer, but I think we actually need to get a new one. But this is a dual probe thermometer and it's got 2 pieces. So this piece, it's wireless, might be Bluetooth, I don't know. This one's probably so old, it's not Bluetooth, it's probably just like wireless. You take this one with you, go about your day. This one you plug in, there's 2 different probes. So you plug them into ports 1 and 2, And then you insert them into, you do one into the breast and one into the thigh in your turkey, and they go right out of the oven or the grill. We use it on the grill too. And it'll show you on here, but also on here, you can set what temperature you want. So you can see, and it'll give you a warning beep when your turkey is like approaching, it's like 5 degrees before whatever temperature you want. So that's really handy to like monitor things.
So what's the temperature that you need to put it on?
Ooh, let me, I don't want to tell you the wrong one. Let me just double check. I think it's 165, but let me double check that.
So oh, that's pretty interesting.
Let me see, spatchcock. I haven't written this one up yet, but let's see. Come on.
That's okay. You could tell us later.
Yeah.
I just
It's,
wanted to have an idea.
Yeah, I think it's, let's see. Let's Google turkey temperature.
That always works.
Yeah, 165.
Yeah, right. Okay.
But, and it also, you know, it cooks a little more after you take it out of the oven, like the carryover cooking. But the dry brine is like, so a wet brine is like a salt solution that you submerge it in liquid in the refrigerator ahead of time. Or some people will do that, but they'll use like an injector and inject the turkey with a saline type of solution. This brine has salt in it, and you put it under the skin and on top of it. Oh, these look better. All right, so here's what approximately they would look like. So you can see the marshmallows are nice and toasty. The edges are, these ones might be a little more brownie-like than I'm used to, but while they're still hot, take my peppermints and just sprinkle them. That's a kind of big chunk. I think I want that one. But yeah, they're still soft, so it'll kind of sink right in. You can press them down a little if you want. And you don't have to add if you don't want to put the candy on top, you don't have to. There is peppermint extract in there, so they will taste minty. Or if you find those peppermint mint chocolate chips, you could do that inside, and then they'll taste pepperminty. But I kind of like how the stripes just kind of add something festive, in my opinion. But so we'll let that kind of sit to harden, like for the cookies to form and hold their shape. And then we get these ones. Sprinkle some on there. So yeah, so I'm working on, I have a never-ending list of recipes to post on my website, but I've got the one that'll be up next is the recipe for the dry brine. And I use dehydrated apples in it too. You don't have to, you can buy apple chips, but I've got a dehydrator recently because of this program, because I found a book on dehydrating and I was like, this is amazing. So I made apple chips, and that's part of what's in there, and it gives it like a really fun flavor. But yeah,
What's your website called?
Oh,
Big
my
Flavor?
website is Big Flavors from a Tiny Kitchen. It's, I can paste it in there, but it's bigflavorstinyKitchen.com.
Yeah, I'll put it in.
Thank you. It's like peppermint hands. Yeah, I've been posting there since 2006, so I have a ton of things up there. Some of the older things I used to post when I would make something from wherever, from anybody, and I would link to their post, and I would say, I tried this recipe, this is what my family thought of it. So I would like rate everything, but then as the years went on, then I started making my own recipes, and it's kind of fun how it's evolved. But yeah, so I have lots of stuff there. I'm gonna hopefully get these three posted, these three recipes, so the gravy, the spatchcock turkey, and the dry brine soon. And I have, thank you for coming, E. This is, if you're interested in an email newsletter, I send it out on Tuesdays, which today's Tuesday. Yeah. So, and I send like tips and recipes and whatever, but yeah, I've got lots of things from all over the world. We like to eat a lot. So, all right, these may have set up enough. See if I can give you an interior shot of these cookies. And I like using a really thin, flexible spatula if you can to get cookies off of cookie sheets when they're, because I feel like sometimes the stiffer ones, like you go to scoot and they just like completely crunch the cookie up. So just go under here, and then I'm transferring it to the wire rack that I have sitting on my counter. If you have a cookie that's got like, they're gonna put like powdered sugar or something on top of, put a towel or something underneath so your countertops don't get like super dirty. But then I'll just let them sit here until they cool, and I'll break one open for you guys. I'm actually very curious to see if they cooked right. Alexa, stop.
Where do you get those wires, the wire thing to cool the where do you
So
find
those, yeah, those, I think I bought, Alexa, set a timer for 2 minutes. I think I actually bought those with my cookie sheets, but I have on, let's see, I have a list on Amazon of
So what are they called actually? They're
metal,
the names of metal or
wire
something?
wire racks,
Wire
wire
rack.
baking racks. Sometimes it's wire cooling racks. Not all of them. Some of them are coated with a non-stick, so they aren't oven safe. Let's see. Cooling rack.
Okay, I just wanted to have the terminology
Yeah.
so I could know what to look for.
Yeah, this
Because I really have to get that. I don't have that. And I end up like
It's-
not knowing what to do with the cookies. And I put them on a plate, on a big plate, and
yeah, and then like the bottom gets a little soggy because you can't
yeah.
yeah, because the air circulating around them is really what helps
Right.
And I
form.
like the grid pattern of it instead of just the ones with just one way
Mhm.
metal, because then they
Yeah.
sort of warp around that and stuff. That's
Exactly. They'll
really
like
neat.
get wavy on the bottom. Yeah, this
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
so this is the half sheet one. This is a link to the one that I have. And they make them for the smaller sheets too. So like that little quarter sheet pan, they make little ones too. So just make sure you pay attention to what size you're getting. If you're using a normal size baking sheet, it's a half sheet pan, so you get like the bigger ones. And then OXO has, or OXO, they have ones. These are coated with something though, so I don't know how much you can bake with them, but they have like an extra like ridge, and you can stack them because they're like that, so they stack easier. But I don't use this one a ton. I tend to favor the metal ones.
And Ashley, it looks like that one you showed on Amazon comes with the baking sheets. I find
Yes.
like
Alexa, stop.
my baking sheets get disgusting. Like, I don't know, like cleaning them, I don't know what.
The stainless steel type.
Yeah.
Have you tried? There's a product called Barkeeper's Friend.
Okay.
It's
Yeah, I know it. Yeah.
It's a powder. All right, here's some. Like,
Ooh,
they
yum.
look, yeah, they look very good. There's, do I have it up here? I do have it up there. It's in a, I can't reach it though. It's in a canister like Comet, you know, like the kitchen or bathroom cleaner. And you sprinkle it on, and as you rub it around, it gets things like, if you have like copper mugs and stuff, or any, I mean, it gets stuff out really, really well. I think the discoloration adds to the character of the baking sheets, but yeah, there's lots of different ways to attempt to clean them. And if you have cast iron or that type, or even steel, you can use, there's this, it's like chainmail mesh. It's steel little rings, and you can just scrub. It's like non-disposable steel wool. Pretty handy. I've got all sorts of weird things in this kitchen. But oh, let me show you the texture of the ones that I didn't bake exactly how I intended to, but they are a little stretchy marshmallow.
Those look awesome.
Yeah, they're it's like a brownie and a cookie.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah,
I
we'll
want
be
one.
dropping some off tomorrow. So thank you.
All of you can come by. I'll share. I promise.
All right, I'm coming to the library tomorrow then.
I would love for you guys to try them.
Because I
being
want
able
to see the
send things
FEMA.
not being able to send things into my son's school has been killing me, because normally this time of year I'm baking like cupcakes with spiders sticking out of them and not real ones. Yeah. But it's been a little bit of a bummer, but it's been fun still.
I'm sorry, I'm gonna change topic for 1 sec. Ola,
Yeah.
did you say the FEMA thing? Because they're not there anymore.
Oh, they're
They're at
not?
a different library. I don't have handy where they're going. But we have the info of what their schedule is at the library.
Because they
But
said
they're
it
not
was,
at Austining.
oh,
yeah.
not anymore, tomorrow? Yeah, today
Yeah.
was the last day, right?
Well, it was supposed to be the last day, and then they told us yesterday that because of the weather, they weren't going to be there, which I thought was very ironic. Like,
I-
FEMA?
Yeah,
the
very
FEMA, but
ironic.
I know. I was like, what?
Just-
Am I understanding this correctly? Because of the way the van, bus, whatever opens up or something, the weather, they didn't, they didn't,
If only they had someone to help them with that.
you know.
Gee.
Yeah, so those are the peppermint hot chocolate cookies. There's no post for these on my website yet. This was like the first preview of them before they get written up. Thanksgiving first, but thank you all for joining. I had a lot of
Yeah,
fun.
Thank you
they
so
look
much. Thank you.
awesome.
And Jean
Yeah.
Marie is now at
I gotta
evening.
go.
I know you're outside. You need a nice cookie right now, don't you?
Yeah.
I wish I could be there to eat one.
Yes,
Thanks
yes.
a million. Lots of great tips again. You always give out such great, helpful tips.
Hey, I'm so glad to hear that. I have a lot of random things up here, and I'm like, sometimes I'm just trying to kill time. I'm like, here's some
I've been
random-
typing
I
away
learned a
on my
lot. I learned
phone.
a lot. I learned a lot.
Always feel free to reach out to me via like on social media. I'm at Big Flavors, or email if you have any questions.
Okay.
I'm happy.
I had no idea that baking soda should be aluminum free, and I'm one of those people that baking powder. And then I'm one of those people that go into that flour container and smush it against the side. So no more of that.
I did that a lot years ago, and like nothing terrible happened. But I mean, the best way to go should be to weigh everything, but like
Right.
a little finicky.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, everybody. And thank you, Ashley. It was awesome as
you.
usual. And I'll post the video and we'll have the recipes. Everything's on the virtual potluck LibGuide.
And I hope to see you on the 9th at 7 p.m. Cookbook
Mhm.
discussion. Eat dinner ahead
7
of time,
o'clock.
or you will be very hungry.
Take care, everybody.
Thanks again.